I'm going to talk about Mercury dimes today. Could they quite possibly be the best silver to stack? I know I sound hypey, but I don't think it's hype. We're going to get right into it after this. All right, here's an audit of yesterday's first. Steve John and Andreas Garsai tied, with Mars 1911 just 2 seconds behind them. I rechecked the scores less than an hour later. Keep in mind, I can only use the tools that I have. YouTube app and YouTube Studio. Whatever shows up on my end, that's what I screenshot. You'll notice Mars 1911 has the oldest minute time here. Between the studio and the app, names change and people disappear. Or appear. So, action breeds success? You could be right. Quite possibly an unfortunate event. Nevertheless, the show must go on. Andreas Garsai and Steve John tied for first. Honorable mention to action breeds success. All right, up early today. Early to bed, early to rise. If you ever want to get rid of all the drunks and druggies in your life, just go to sleep when it gets dark out and feel refreshed early while the knuckleheads are sleeping it off. I can't afford to slack. I got so much stuff to do. I'm trying to escape this upper poor lifestyle. Maybe get some of that lower middle class good life. Frankly, I would love to skip over the middle class altogether. I know, ambitious, right? Welcome back to the People's Stoinkalackers channel. Not the Bullion Dealers Coin channel, and not the Miner Stacker channel. Not that they've asked. I don't see why they would. We got a lot of news to ignore today. I hope you're ready. This is nearly 1,440 Mercury dimes. I know, right? It's a beautiful thing. We're going to talk about them, and I'm going to get into why I like them so much. First, if you would, hit that like button and expand this wealthy community of ours. You're always generous with the likes and engagement with the videos, friendo. And that's why the thousandaires are a-coming. Just a slow and steady grassroots movement. Taking things back the way it used to be. Before all the big channels got sugar daddy bullion dealer sponsors. It used to just be pondering, unboxing, and some news and price speculations. But back then, they weren't sales pitches. Just a bunch of guys trying to figure out how to keep their purchasing power. Now, they tell you some news and speculate. How can you trust them? How can you trust them when they got to plug their sugar daddy? Daddy's going to give them some more sugar. Just stay bullish. Sorry, I checked out the analytics and I see some of the videos you guys watch. I guess that's why I'm here. And if you're a content creator, there's plenty of room for stackers and collectors that don't sell out to conflict of interest sponsors. Why should anyone believe their opinion on something when they're sponsored by someone who sells that exact thing? And I'm not saying their opinions are right or wrong. I mean, broken clocks are right sometimes. I'm just saying, why should anyone take them serious? I think it's a great opportunity for people who want to run a channel with integrity. I'm on the lookout for them all the time. And I got nothing against anyone getting paid. Just sell something where the incentives don't corrupt your commentary. How would you like to have a doctor that sells coffins? Anyhow, I wish more people would make videos and try to make them entertaining. Integrity without being entertaining, I mean, what's that worth? But I would love to watch some videos other than my own. I'm always on the lookout. I just hope, like this channel, they do not follow the old model. There's got to be a better way. So let's talk about Mercury dimes, or Winged Liberty dimes. I'm going to talk about why I think they are the best silver to stack. And it's just my opinion. So I could be wrong, and if I am, please put it in the comments below. I've noticed when I buy silver dimes at the LCS or the NSLCS, local coin shop or not so local coin shop, I can purchase about the same amount of silver in dimes for about the same price as a 1-ounce generic round. Now, this may not be possible depending on where you are, and maybe the opportunity will be limited to a time frame. Maybe the window will close or it's closing now. Today is Monday, June 7th, 2025. I just looked at the price of silver. It's like $36.40. Gold is a little over $3,300. Okay, so there's Roosevelt dimes and Mercury dimes. Why do I want the Mercury dimes? After all, on average, they are worn down more than the Roosevelts. I'll start by saying I don't buy slick Mercury dimes, although I'm sure a bit of slick tax is paid. Slick tax being, if you weighed them out, they would not weigh as much as the Roosevelts or the 1-ounce generic silver round. But again, I leave the more slick Mercs behind at the LCS. If you don't know, $1.40 in constitutional silver equals an ounce of silver. plus some copper, because it is, after all, 90% silver. The fact that it's 90% silver and not 0.999% or higher is an argument for some not to be interested. If the price of silver should spike up pretty high and retail investment interest starts to wane a bit, dealers may rely more on scrapping than turning products around for resale. And 90% silver is more timely and costly to refine than 0.999 or higher. So that could potentially lower the bid price for your dimes at sale. So potentially you could be burned at purchase and at sale. If you pay too much for dimes that are too slick, or if the silver price spikes up and retail interest wanes and sales become dependent on scrappers. All right, did we get the bad stuff out of the way? I'm starting to want to ditch these dimes and just get some generic rounds. So I think maybe we could agree, if you're relying solely on your investment in silver and you want fast liquidity in a scenario that's dependent on scrappers or refiners, then yeah, some reservation is understandable. But there are other metrics, other areas where the dimes could potentially outshine the generic round. Mercury dimes are highly recognizable and very difficult to counterfeit convincingly. And if you could, why would you? It would not be a very fruitful endeavor unless you counterfeit a key. And let's say you did have a counterfeit Mercury dime in your stack. It would not hurt as much as having a full 1 ounce counterfeit. And they're out there. Hopefully, you're always vigilant about testing. I have to remind myself too sometimes. It's not good if you get a fake ounce of silver, but it's even worse if you pass a fake on to someone else. That can severely hurt trust, and that is not how you build a wealthy community. No. Trust is sacred. It takes a long time to build and absolutely no time to destroy it. Another thing about Mercury dimes that I did not mention, their premium can actually shoot up. That happens too. Now let's talk about SHTF, collapse, or possibly even a barter society. In that scenario, fractional metals become king. And I mean that as a surplus asset. And in a collapse scenario, what I mean by a surplus asset is you already have your canned goods and dry goods, stored water and water filtration, medicines, and that includes freedom pills, and tools, and your network. Once all those boxes are checked off, and there's a lot of boxes, I by no means went over them all. Heck, I don't even know them all. Does anyone really? I mean, there's so many factors. But if you got what you need, you're surviving it, maybe even thriving it. From what I understand, when you get near the end of a currency collapse where it starts to recover, the society, that is, not the currency will either be revalued or there'll be a new one. And that's when the precious metals really start to shine during that scenario. If everyone's going hungry, it's very unlikely someone's going to sell you food for your Mercury dimes. But again, during the recovery of that collapse, the promissory notes will be revalued. And the value of silver and gold will likely be the same, maybe even have a premium. I would say most likely it would have a premium. You may be thinking to yourself, SHTF, not likely. But it doesn't have to happen for Mercury dimes to shine. As long as the zombie apocalypse fantasy is always alive, the market for the most fractional verifiable silver and recognizable, theoretical, bartering trade units will always be there. I hope you hit that like button, subscribe for more if you want more. That's it. That is it. Thousand Air Radio, Wicked Shout. Join the pen pals. You can now write me at The Thousand Air Collector, 1700 Sullivan Trail, Suite 7, Box 111, Easton, Pennsylvania, 18040. Don't forget to include your info so I can put you on my mailing list.